Yes, great to have company for this Saturday afternoon, all heading towards kick-off 3 o'clock. The New Zealand Warriors taking on North Queensland Cowboys. Huge game of rugby league. Plenty of action set us up before today. And to talk about it, we have Ryan Girdler, Brent Reid, and our special guest is Api Koroisau. G'day, Api.
How you going, fellas?
Weekend off for the Tigers. We'll get to some more detail about the first few weeks for you. But how's that shape up when you have the bye? A bit of time to yourself? What have you done?
Yeah, we played Monday night, so we got a couple of days of training in before they gave us the weekend off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is, I think came at a good time for us over the Tigers.
I've got a good stat for you, Api.
Oh.
5 out of the 6 teams coming off the bye have won the next week.
Wow.
So look out, Manly.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll try and add to that stat.
We'll have
sure.
to put that stat to Anthony Seabold when we speak to him a little bit later on after their win. No, that was a terrific game of rugby league last night. Reedy, hello. You're wearing your Masters cap. You got your Four Pines Brewing T-shirt on. You're just an advertising hoarding.
I am, aren't I?
Yeah, you
I
are.
should be taking a commission or something, shouldn't I, Tom?
Yeah.
Sadly, I get no kickbacks out of this, but anyway.
When did you get back from
Thursday
the US
morning.
Masters?
Thursday morning I got back, straight back into work, Tone. No rest for the wicked. A little bit of jet lag, but not too bad. I keep waking up at 5 a.m. But you know what? I find that when you wake up early in the day,
Yes, what
it
happens?
gets to like 11 o'clock, you feel like you've done something with your day, you know? Feels rewarding. So it means you can take the afternoon off.
Do you actually do anything before it, or just the fact
No,
you've
it's
been
just
up
the mere
early?
fact you've been up for 6 hours. It's like an achievement, right?
Exactly.
I went for a walk the other day. Anyway.
Nice work. What's going on in terms of, there's plenty, I'd imagine, on the charge sheet injury since Thursday. Can you give us a kind of a snapshot of what's happened?
Okay, since out of Thursday, it was only a few charges out of Thursday. Cam Murray escaped with a fine, so he will be available this week. David Mwali, a fine as well. But Kenny Bromwich is the big one there. He's looking at 1 to 2 games for that hit on Tane Milne. So he could miss some footy, but otherwise most guys emerged unscathed. But I tell you what, not out of last night, Tane. There was a bit of carnage out of last night.
Okay, sit
this
back,
could take
everybody.
a while, so
Yeah.
let's get this. Okay, and the Roosters game, Nat Butcher. Dangerous contact for a hit on Britton Nakora. He's looking at 1 to 2
That
games.
was a hip drop tackle.
Hip drop tackle, sorry, yep. Brandon Smith for that careless high tackle on Cam McInnes. Now, he can escape with a fine with an early guilty plea, but he's looking at 1 game if he fights it. So I think Brandon will obviously cop that and pay the
It
fine.
looked like he was trying to do instant retribution because
Yeah.
McGuinness seemed to raise his elbow in the tackle at first, but yeah.
But this is the good one, the Manly game. There's a few out of this one, the Manly-Melbourne game. Now, Trent Liero, he is a careless high tackle as well on Tommy Trbojevic. He's only a fine. Ray Vega for that shoulder charge on Cameron Munster. He's looking at 2 to 3 games, probably 2 matches. I'd imagine he'll cop the early guilty plea because that was pretty obvious. Tui Kamikamitha, same situation, dangerous contact on Daly Cherry Evans. He's looking at 2 to 3 matches, and again, I'd imagine he'll cop the 2 games. And Justin Olam, for that dangerous contact on Daly Cherry Evans, he's looking at a fine. So not a bad result for Justin Olam in the end.
Wow.
Although he's still reeling from the hit from
Alakwatu.
getting smashed.
Yeah. How many weeks does he get for that? That was
He
phenomenal.
deserves a bit of sympathy after being on the end of that tackle.
He does. Well, that's the sort of tackle I was trying to put on when I had my sleeping-related
Yes, what's
injury.
going on here, Tone? You look a bit of a mess, dare I say it?
Yeah, I am a little bit of a mess. I have a nasty gash, I'm going to call it, on my left ear, Api, and I'm not usually one who, handles pain or adversity very well at all. But I'm playing through today. But it's a sleeping-related injury. I have a thing called, basically I have REM sleep disorder, okay,
Right.
which is a terrific
Have
thing.
you made this up?
No. Well, wait till you get the end of the story and you decide. Which means that I can actually, most people when they get into REM sleep, that's it. So you can dream, but you don't act out your dream. So it means you don't, physically move. You're stuck to the bed. For people like me, I can do that. So I was dreaming that I was playing football. We were getting smashed, and Phil Gould was the coach. Gus was
Really?
the coach. Yeah.
Wow.
We were getting smashed, and at halftime I was moved from the centre back to fullback, and immediately there was a line break. And I thought, I've got to do it for Gus, got to do it for the great coach. So I lined the bloke up. I was absolutely going to fold him, just like Justin Olam was.
Olakuato style.
Olakuato style.
Yeah.
So I absolutely rammed into him. As it turned out, him was the bedside table.
Wow.
And with a quite sharp edge. And I've virtually cut the top of my left ear off. It's hanging there. They're by a
Did
thread.
Gus block you on Twitter in your dream as well?
He didn't. He didn't.
I saw that photo. You sent that photo to the group. I was in the middle of breakfast when that photo arrived.
Fairly ugly.
It was ugly, yeah.
No, it was ugly. So, look, if I struggle during the day today and I need an HIA, I'll just have to have a little 15-minute period where I go out. Yeah.
Did you make the tackle?
That's a good question.
I did. No, the bedside table
Tony,
made
that's
it through.
unbelievable. I still can't get my head around that.
Why?
Is that like a common disorder?
No.
Is it a disorder? Is that kind of like sleepwalking?
It is like sleepwalk. I don't sleepwalk, but it means the same kind of thing. I can move muscles rather than my muscles being just in sleep.
And have you got any others? So have you had any
Yes.
others?
How often do you
incidents
maim
with the
yourself,
same
Tone?
sort of-
incident? Well, put it this way: I've been divorced twice.
Okay, there you go. Do you fall on
I'll
top
do
of
it.
people naked?
I'm not fun to sleep with. Is probably the better answer to the question, Ryan Girdler. We have so much to get to. The Sea Eagles 18, the Storm 8.
We played dumb at times, and basically we got what we deserved tonight.
Olam sin bin, Tui sin bin, like just unnecessary.
Yeah, again, I don't know what planet they're on. You just can't do that these days. Like you can't hit ball players and halves late. And with any sort of force at all. And so that's what it is. And to do that, and so we play the half of the second half, with 12 men. That's hard work.
In fairness, Justin Olam didn't know what planet he was on either after he'd been tackled by.
He's spot on though, Tone. They're
Yeah.
really dumb plays. Like that's not what you get out of Melbourne generally. You don't get that ill discipline, but they were cheap shots really. On I think they were both on Daly, weren't they? From memory or not? I can't recall exactly who they were on, but they were just unnecessary. And in a tight game like that, to lose those guys for 20 minutes, it just sucks the juice out of you, doesn't it, Api, if you're playing with 12 men for that long?
Yeah, 100%. And like we were saying, obviously Manly will come with a good game plan and they're playing well, and you just can't afford those things. You can't touch halfbacks these days, so we stay away from that.
Cam Munster, is he a lippy player when you're playing against him?
Yeah, this man's talking the whole game. It's pretty impressive, actually. I don't know, he's not tired. Just having a yarn with everyone on the field, but he does really well at getting inside people's heads.
Good. Tommy Trbojevic, there's been a lot of talk about him all season, whether he's fit, if he's not. And we learned, of course, that it was a hip pointer injury that he's been playing with. But he was aggressive coming back towards the line, wasn't he?
I would say that he had moments of that, Tony, but I also still think that he's a little bit away from probably where he will get at some point, hopefully, through the season. So, there's still a little bit of proppiness to his game, and I'm not sure through, what injury or that may trigger that. But he had some beautiful moments. I thought it was really important, his first touch of the footy. He's a guy that leads and his players need to know if he's on or in sort of what state of mind he's in. And his first run just showed everyone that he was all business last night, even though through other parts of the game he was probably not as physical as he usually is. Then he comes up and scores that great little try with that trick shot with Cherry Evans. And he did everything he needed to do last night. But I still think, and it's good news for Eagles fans and good news for people that love the NRL, that he's got more to come.
DCE, another good performance.
Yeah, very good. Just knows how to control the game. He's been doing the right things at the right time, and obviously when you play against him, that kicking game, it's incredible. So I thought he had a great game.
So what are we looking at? You told us at the top in terms of, again, it was all action stations report-wise.
Sorry, Tone, I just shut down the screen.
Oh, good on
So
you.
I've got it open though, Tone. I'm all over it.
Of course.
So Tui Kamikamitha,
Worth every cent
2 to
we
3
paid you.
games for Tui Kamikamitha. Ray Vegas looking at 2 or 3 games as well for the shoulder charge, and Liero and Justin Olam just fines for those 2 guys. So only 2 blokes come out of it facing suspension.
I don't think I've ever heard Gordon Tallis quite so excited about a tackle.
The Olakau'atu tackle. How good? He is such a good player now, Hamoli. I don't know how you don't pick him in Origin, Hamoli. He's going that good at the moment. I just think he's such a. You can see that game. He's just such a presence on the field. He's just such a big bloke. He stands out, and he's such. Well, you'd know, Api. He must be a handful to tackle.
He was, I think it was 19 when he first came to the Sea Eagles, and we couldn't even tackle him at training back then. So, just to see the way he's playing, I think, like you said, the presence of him defensively and in attack. And he's pulling off some incredible plays too, jumping for high balls and catching kicks. Yeah, he's a danger man, that one.
I spoke to him in the pre-season, Tony. He said he'd shed a bit of weight because he got off the fast food and he was a bit more disciplined. I think he became a dad in the off-season, so that sort of redirected his energies, and he realised he couldn't afford to waste these opportunities. And I think you can see he's reaping the benefits of that. And Manly have given him an upgrade this year, given him a bit more money to keep him happy, and he looks happy. He's playing really good footy.
There was a second player in that tackle as well.
Josh Alloway?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing was that there was the perfect
Sorry,
timing
Josh.
of it. Yeah.
We ignored him.
The perfect timing of it, and the fact that neither of them snuck high on it. It was the perfect tackle, wasn't it?
It's funny when you see a tackle like that. I think Gerds mentioned earlier. Your immediate instinct is they've got to make contact with the head.
Yes.
But they didn't. There was no contact at all with the head. Still shook him up though.
Well, especially, and he's the kind of guy, that's the job he has done on play. Have you ever been hit by Justin Olam in that kind of fashion?
Plenty of times.
And, well, it was a terrific performance. The Sea Eagles 18, the Storm 8. This is the Saturday Scrum. We're doing it for King G Workwear. And it's time to turn the spotlight on Api and just to find out what's going on in West Tigers. The spotlight is, I guess, the thing. Api, since you've been there, have you been surprised by the level of the intense focus that seems to be on them? We know that they're a club. It's a big club. It's a popular club. People want to know what's going on. And obviously, the story has been ongoing about, a lack of success there. But have you been surprised at just how intense the whole focus is?
Yeah, it did catch me by surprise. Before I actually came to the club, I'd seen that there's always a bit of noise surrounding the Tigers, but not till I got here, I sort of realised it was sort of week in, week out. It was pretty relentless, but, at the end of the day, is what it is. Like you said, there hasn't been much success at the club, and obviously I think the fan base itself is quite large too. So, they're all voicing their opinions, and at the end of the day, you got to win footy games, and, that's not happening. So, it's sort of expected now.
Was that a little bit confronting for you, Api, because you obviously came out of a system where you just won sort of your 3 grand finals, 2 of them, you'd won, and then you go out of that environment straight into an environment that is a little bit, unstable, new coaches, player movement, a totally different situation. How did you handle that?
Yeah, look, I sort of knew what I was getting into before I got there, but I just understood that everything was going to have to be taken, as it came. Worry about things, when it popped up and not trying to think too far ahead. So, the difference is obviously, I think, just the winning of the footy games at the moment. I don't have too much to do with the upstairs or the player movements and whatnot, but just understanding that, footy didn't come a lot easier at Penrith, but it just happened, much easier. Whereas here, everyone's still working really hard and putting their best foot forward and, still coming up with the same results. So that's probably the biggest difference at the moment.
Everyone talks about Tim and Benji as the coaches there, but Robbie's there as well. He's an assistant coach. Are you doing a lot of stuff with Robbie on a personal level?
Yeah, plenty, especially in pre-season. He was trying to take me through a lot of his drills, and he showed me plenty of his highlights. With the Sheensy actually sent me one of his clips last week.
Robbie's clips?
Yeah, one of Robbie's clips. So
wow.
It was good. But no, it's been awesome, man. He's been teaching me a lot about the game and the ins and outs, and I didn't know nearly as much as I thought I did, before coming here. So that's really good to be able to get that other point of view too.
It looked like last week you settled into the role a little bit more. It looked like you had a little bit more freedom, a little bit more push with the players around you. Seemed to know a little bit more what to expect. Do you feel like that's sort of the way forward?
Yeah, definitely. We had a few plays off myself, and I think that just sort of takes a bit of pressure off the halves as well, trying to come up with shape and understanding that I think our best footy as well is through the middle. We've got a great forward pack, and these guys are up for the challenge, and I really think that we can sort of take advantage of that, which I thought we did last week, and hopefully Sheensy gives me the reins again to do that and through the middle.
Api, how's the dynamic work? Because as I said, you got Tim, Robbie, and Benji. I imagine, is Robbie working with sort of the middle? Tim oversees it all. Benji works with the attack, I think. Is that right? And
yep.
Like, how's that dynamic work?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think Robbie does most of the yardage stuff coming out of our own end, and Benji will do a lot of our overall attack. We've got Dave Ferner there who does our defence.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He's a great coach, and he's doing some great things at the moment. And obviously Sheens is the overall Overwatch, and he gets plenty of what he wants in there too.
With the injury to Adam Dewey, you'll be called on for your excellent goal kicking once again. I would imagine. What happened?
Oh, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm smoking him at training. Like, I'm not missing that training. I rocked up first day of preseason, kicking goals as like for fun, and people were like, "Oh, you can goal kick." I was like, "Bro, I might be up here, second string, I'm coming." And then the first kick I get, it's on the sideline and to tie up the game, and it was the worst attempt I've ever had. And I was like, as soon as I walked off the field, the first thing Benji said to me was like, "You're never kicking again." I was like, "Yeah, sweet, that's fine by me. That's good."
It was a sad sight to see Adam Dewey go though with that ACL after his history of that injury, same leg as well. How is he coping?
Yeah, look, he hasn't been into training yet. I think they're sort of getting him ready for whatever he needs to do, whether it's surgery or not. But yeah, I don't think he'd be doing too great at the moment. I think they said this is the third one as well, which is pretty devastating for him. And yeah, look, he's a really important player in this team, and for us to lose him like that, it's pretty hard as well. But yeah, I just feel for him at the moment.
If there was one area of focus that you believe, like with the experience that you're bringing into the organisation, that they really need to work on, what would it be? Like what was the thing that you noticed that sort of stood out amongst the whole all of sort of what they were doing, that you thought we can do that better? That should be an immediate focus.
Yeah, look, to be honest, it's more our possession, the way we're turning the ball over. I don't think that's good enough. It just puts us in really bad positions. We've been playing catch-up footy. We'll get down the other team's end, attacking their goal line for the first 5-10 minutes, and then obviously just come up with a bad error and then capitulate, and then obviously let a try in. So at the moment, for me, I just think completing our sets and putting them in the corners at the right times, especially when we're attacking their line, is our biggest issue at the moment, and just not coming up with these silly errors.
The boys talked about the scrutiny the club's under. Does it get to a point where you just don't stop watching TV shows, you don't read newspapers? Like, does it get to that point? Maybe you never did that before anyway, but I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the news or watched anything for a while, and
I'll send you some stuff.
No, thanks, mate. I think
but I'm sure people are telling you. People tell you, it's hard to avoid, right?
100%. It's everywhere. Especially we do media quite often, and they'll bring up points that's going on at the moment. So I think for us, it's building that resilience.
You got a bit annoyed the other week, apparently. They told me you were getting peppered about something. I can't remember.
Oh, who was that? Was that Michael? I forgot who it was. Yeah, I walked off on him. He was trying to get a story about Jackson Hastings, and
that's right. The same question got asked about three
times in a row, and I just walked off on him.
Well, you ended your post-game interview on Fox Sports the other day. You just was there answering a question and go, "Thanks for the question, guys. Take the cans off and walk."
Yeah, sorry. It was Clemmer's 200 game, and we were taking a big photo for the team, and priorities. I had to get in that photo for Clemmer, so I didn't want him to be angry at me. So.
Well, on that point, with all that scrutiny, with people like Clem, is it a good group of guys? I mean, can you draw on each other to do, get together and get through it?
Mate, 100%. I think they did some really good recruiting, and they got some real professionals in with Isaiah and Clem. But at the same time, the group is actually quite positive. We understand that it's our own fault. No one's making any excuses, which is the best thing. And we all know that what we need to do to get better is not even just the big players around the field. It's the 1%ers, those fundamental things, making those errors and kick chasing, making your tackles. So right now the group's really positive, and they can see those things in the game. And I think if you look at the Parramatta game, our stats were crazy compared to Parramatta's. Yep. So it's just these little moments in the game we're losing, and we fix those things. We're going to help ourselves a lot.
It looks like you could form a really good combination, a working relationship with Johnny Bateman. Whenever he comes into the middle, I mean, he's such an unorthodox guy that just creates opportunities out of absolutely nothing. Sometimes he can just get a little bit isolated, standing out on that right edge, and all of a sudden he comes in and he looks like you and him just sort of pull the trigger, and you can sort of feel each other out and things happen around that. Do you think that's a position that, that he might be used more often in the middle?
Yeah, definitely. The best thing about Johnny is just a competitor. So when he thinks something needs to happen, he'll go out there and try to do it himself, which is something that we need at the moment too. And like you said, he's quite unorthodox, so he's sort of creating things. But I think we just need to help him out as well. You know, he likes to grab across the field and move around, and you know, we need people pushing off him, just like you know, I like to get out sometimes too.
Is he a bit mad, Api?
He's
strikes
crazy.
me as being a bit bad, yeah.
Pommy, just a crazy pom. You need one of them in every team. So. I appreciate it. I appreciate having Johnny. Yeah.
I love it. Api, thank you for not walking out on that little bit of interview early. That was very good. Very good. The Sharks 22, the Roosters 12. It's been a while since the Roosters have not had the win in that contest. They've had the win on them for 7 or 8 games, I think, in succession. But the Sharks at Shark Park managed to get that job done. Both sides this year have been a little bit on the up and down side. So I guess it was really a guessing match who was going to win it. But the Sharks got the job done, Gerds. What did you think of that performance?
Yeah, I thought the Sharks were really resilient, Tone. I went in thinking the Roosters, you know, coming off that loss against the Melbourne Storm, but, you know, the back of 3 really good wins and looked like they were about to sort of hit some really nice form. Had another little stumbling sort of block, and discipline-wise, it's been an issue for the Roosters, I think, for the last kind of few years, but I think they gave away like 14 or so penalties, had a couple of 3 guys put in the bin. I think defensively they've got some issues out on that right side. I think young Walker got exposed a few times last week and looks like he's lost his confidence just a little bit, and the Sharks sort of got him down there a couple of times. And then also, short sides, just decision making. The Roosters it wasn't what it sort of has been in the past, and it was just a bit of a strange night out. I don't think they'll be really happy with the performance of the Roosters. They almost sort of stayed in there for long enough to get themselves back into the contest, but the Sharks were just far enough ahead just to sort of remain comfortable and then end up, with a late try that sealed the deal for them.
And Api, Nico Hines continues to impress, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's really come a long way in the last few years, and yeah, just even with last night's performance, he's really stepping up there and becoming a proper leader at that team.
It was an important game for him, though, wasn't it? He's just signed that huge contract, and your team struggled a bit, and they need a win. He was the one who came up with the big play when they needed it right at the end of the game, and that's why you pay a bloke like that so much money, because when games are on the line, they dictate the result, and he dictated the result last night.
He keeps getting called in commentary as, $1 million man, but these days, it's not as if he's a lone soldier in that regard, is it? There's quite a few of those guys running around for
there's
various
a few,
clubs.
Most clubs have got at least one. So, but I think it was important for him because, as I said, when you get the big dollars, there's a lot of expectation comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it with a guy like Luke Brooks at the Tigers. He's had that $1 million expectation on his shoulders for so long and hasn't really been able to get the job done. So, for Nico to step up when the game was on line, win that game against a really quality footy team, and a game they needed to win because they were 2 and 3 going into that game. They needed to win it. So I think it was a pretty big night for him, and you could see his reaction at full time, and he was pumped.
Yeah. Trent Robinson, the Roosters coach, he wasn't terribly happy with the bunker call on the Lindsay Collins try or no try that was either on or just short of the line. Here's what he had to say.
I think they missed it, to be honest. I feel like the way that Lindsay lunged late and then got there, they got surprised by it. And so, therefore, the bunker needed to look at that. It was pretty clear from the angles that I saw that the ball on the line, and then I thought that was a poor excuse, the on-field decision. There was enough angles there to say it was on the line, and then he should have had that's the role of that. If they miss it on field, which they did because they were surprised by it, and then Smithy saw it and Lindsay saw it and went, hey, try. There was no sort of negative reaction from the opposition, and then, they'd just make a soft call.
So it's I guess the idea that they didn't roll the tape far enough to see where the ball actually ended up at the end of that.
I thought it was a try myself. So I can understand why Robbo's a bit frustrated by the decision, but I think he was awesome last night, Lindsay Collins, actually, with Origin around the corner.
Totally.
Good signs for Queensland, Gertz.
He's actually,
like that, wouldn't you?
mate, it is. He's actually been pretty good all year.
Yeah.
I think some of his efforts get overshadowed by the impact that Hargreaves has, but there was a chip and chase late in that game yesterday in the pouring rain, and he played sort of big minutes, and there was no one at home, and Nico Hines got the fullback. He got Teddy up in the line, chipped over the top, and if Collins wasn't there to catch it, Hines goes through and scores a try. So he had some really big moments, and he deserved the try. But yeah, it was just so hard to see from the angle that we were given watching it on the screen. But just the one that got away for the Roosters, unfortunately.
What about, I don't know if you've got your computer open there, Reedy, with the Chargers. Nat Butcher, what happened to him with that hip drop tackle?
Give me 1 second there, Tony. I'm pulling it open right now. Nat Butcher was, it's a grade 2 dangerous contact. So he's looking at one match with an early plea, 2 with a guilty plea at the panel.
Yeah.
So he's looking, he'll spend at least a week on the sidelines.
He should fight that because that's we're jumping at shadows as a game around this hip drop thing. I think, guys, over what's happened over the last couple of weeks that we've seen. And I think, again, last night we're encouraging players to stay down when they feel any pressure on the back of their legs and the back of their limbs. And we saw that with Nakora last night. He stayed down whether he was injured or not. Well, he played another 60 minutes, so he obviously wasn't. But again, we need to be careful. It's another stoppage. It's another opportunity for the game just to lose momentum. And there was so much of that last night. But I just thought with that one...
didn't you think he landed on the back of his leg?
Yeah, but people land places, Tony. I think it was a one-on-one tackle. Nakora actually ducked underneath him and then went through the other side. So I just want the league to tell us as fans of the game what players are supposed to do in that situation. Just watch the guy run away or try and just sort of fall and take the guy down any way that they can. And again, it comes back to if there's 2 or 3 guys holding a guy and a third guy comes in or one of those guys slides down and puts his hips and his lower body on the legs of the player that's standing stationary, I totally understand it. That's a part of the game that we need to eradicate. But when you've got guys one-on-one, and I said it last week, that are just sort of running through the line, and Api's in the game currently, players are going to do whatever they need to get the player on the ground. And unfortunately, sometimes that means you're going to drop your body weight down on the back of the player to try and bring him down. Now, you can't stop that. There's nothing, I'm not sure what he's supposed to do. And everyone talks about technically not twisting and not doing this. It's all rubbish because you do exactly what you need to do and will continue to do that. So I don't know what this little rant the game we're on at the moment, just trying to eradicate a situation that's been in our game forever. But one-on-one, this is going to continue. And if we're going to keep holding up play and players are going to stay down, trying to attract penalties, we've developed, I think, a real issue for the game.
Yeah, you can see what the NRL is trying to do, obviously, by protecting the players and saying they want to eradicate this tackle. But at the end of the day, it's so hard too because when you are in the heat of the battle, you're just trying to get the bloke down. You're not thinking, I want to injure this guy. You're not thinking, I want to land on this guy's legs. You're literally hanging off the side. You've either been beaten in the tackle or in contact and they've gotten through and you're literally just trying to pull them down. And unfortunately, that does have consequences sometimes with injuries and whatnot, but it's such a hard situation and it's real tricky to navigate. It's a real grey area in our game at the moment, but it's one of those things where no one's actually trying to hurt anybody and at the same time, the NRL is trying to look after the players. So, I can see both sides of the argument and, it's pretty tricky. And now, like you said, the game's slowing down because of it and whatnot, but it is what it is at the moment.
For smaller guys, if you're a one-on-one with a big bloke who drags you along, you almost have to lose your feet, don't you, to add to your weight?
100%. Yeah, that's the whole point of it. I've been in those situations plenty of times, and I've been warned a couple of times, and it's exactly what it is. It's one-on-one. You go to drop your whole body weight to pull them down, and unfortunately, you end up landing on someone's leg sometimes.
Yeah. Victor Radley, he was in here last week saying how he can't run out of the line anymore. He's kind of not targeted necessarily, but certainly anything he does is seen by referees, and he's worried about sin binning. It had been sin bin the game before, and he ended up in the sin bin. Obviously not for active foul play, but for lying down.
What was he doing?
I think he was trying to stop the play so they would, draw a penalty so they could go to a captain's challenge.
It was such a blatant
it was
penalty.
blatant.
It was bizarre.
It was absolutely blatant.
It was so late.
Yeah. Some very unkind Eastern Suburbs people are now giving her a new nickname of the Ibis, the bin chicken, which is kind of works.
It was a strange one, that one. I thought it was just such a blatant attempt to give away a penalty. It was, the referee almost had no choice but to send him to the sin bin.
No, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I think
100%.
he knew the consequence of that, but they still wanted to have that play looked at.
That's exactly what they want to do. He was trying
So
to
they
draw,
did it in an awareness of what the outcome was going to be, but just unfortunately the referee didn't allow him. I'm not sure. And this is another interesting thing. And Trent Robinson, one of the more astute coaches in the game, doesn't even understand the rule. So how can the rest of us? Where he said, I'm not sure whether or not the referee was then supposed to give us a look at to see whether or not that play was a captain challenge and we could have had overturned because he didn't allow it anyway. And he thinks that the rule states that once the play is stopped, you should be able to present the captain's challenge. So, yeah, a few questions to be answered by the NRL at some point, Tone.
We should, and if it comes to the point where we don't know all the rules and we're confused, we should be playing rugby union because that's where that happens all the time.
Good practice for Joe
Stoppages
Swatley.
too, isn't it?
It's a big day for the Roosters over today, Tone, because Angus Crichton's back in New South Wales Cup, and Satili Tupanura, I think, makes his return in New South Wales Cup today. So they're getting some artillery back.
Yeah, no, that is great news on Angus Crichton, absolutely. Anyway, the Roosters didn't quite get the job done. 22-12, the Sharks got that Saturday scrum. King G Workwear helps us out.
Triple M's Saturday Scrum for King G. Pushing the limits in comfort, tech.
The Dragons. Let's begin there, Brent.
Your
Reid.
club, Tone.
My club. What the hell is happening? First, let's have a listen in terms of the coach, because we know that there's a lot going on around the coach and whether he will be there at the end of this year, in the next couple of weeks. Who knows what's going to happen? Certainly, the captain, Ben Hunt, knows what he wants to happen.
Yeah, I just think it would. As in, he's been here for a couple of years now. We're building in a direction I believe is the right direction, and I think if you take away your coach, you bring a new coach in, then it's just going to start that whole cycle again. And to be honest, I probably don't have the time to start it all again. I'm getting to the back end now, and I'm not really keen on starting fresh.
Yeah, so we know, look, he's got a good relationship with Anthony Griffin. They go back a long time, and he's saying that if he goes, it's a start-again situation. I'm not sure if that's exactly the case with these things where we're talking about a total rebuild, but certainly they're in an interesting place.
Well, yeah, Benny's like a broken record, and I admire his loyalty to Hook, but ultimately what Ben says shouldn't be a factor, right? Anthony Griffin's future will be determined by results. As simple as that. They got a board meeting Tuesday. There's some coaches or agents they've spoken to, the club's spoken to find out whether they would be interested. So they put together basically a list. It'll be discussed on Tuesday, but there won't be a decision made on Anthony Griffin on Tuesday, unless the one caveat is if they go out at the weekend. I think they play Canberra tomorrow, right?
Yeah, they're at 2 o'clock.
If they go out and get absolutely towed up and smashed, then maybe they do fast-track things and the decision's made on Tuesday. But otherwise, I don't expect a decision to be made on Anthony Griffin's future. It's a regular board meeting. It's not a special board meeting. This is a board meeting. It's the regular monthly board meeting. And the coach will be talked about because they're going through that process now. But as it stands today, there won't be a decision made about Anthony Griffin or an incoming coach or talking to incoming coaches on Tuesday.
But in that scenario you're talking about, they get smashed by Canberra, so they decide to move on from Anthony Griffin. They decide to move on immediately. Then move on to where? To an interim coach? Is that what would happen?
No, I would say they'll say to Anthony,
Coach
we're going to replace you at the end of the year. Simple as that. And then you can finish the year off, and then it'll be his decision about whether he stays as coach. If he doesn't...
No, if they get smashed, surely he doesn't get, then you'll stay or you make the decision. The decision will be made for him.
Yeah, no, but the decision will be at the end of the year, Anthony, we're moving on, we're finding another coach.
So as a Dragon supporter, it's just taken it's too long. This is too long in the wilderness for this team. This team doesn't deserve to be in the wilderness. The game is better if it's not. The game is better if the Dragons are up there in the 8 or fighting for it at least. And tell you
so what would you like to see happen, Tony? You're a supporter.
Yeah, well, I think change, but I think change probably needed to happen before. I hate the idea of, if this happens in the middle of the season, interim coach comes in, all hopes and dreams are crushed for the, you give up the rest of the year. So you think, okay, we're hoping 2024 is going to be better. I don't know. I want something to happen now or yesterday.
Yeah, but what about that? I mean, is there someone that you believe that they could bring in the interim that can do a better job?
Well,
that's the thing. Who are they going to be able to get now?
Yeah, okay. Well, Jason Rolls, although he seems to be the Storm's man, doesn't
he? They're not going to get Rolls. Is not going to leave the Roosters mid-season anyway. And nor's Dean Young and nor's Ben Hornby. They're not going to leave their current jobs mid-season. So regardless of if they go with one of those guys, they're not going to get them straight away. It'll be like a Craig Fitzgibbon situation where they'll work in the background and
Yeah, but when's the last time, Rudy, that a coach was basically giving his marching orders at the end of the year and he sat out and he stayed for the whole season? Does that happen?
It does happen. Yeah, it does happen.
When's the last time? Question without notice. When did that happen
Did Hook
last?
do that? Did Anthony do that in the past? He's been
Not at Penrith.
Penrith
he
he
didn't,
did.
Did he do it at Brisbane? I can't remember. I can't remember how it unfolded, but it has. I believe it has happened.
Okay.
I can't remember when.
Yeah,
but I believe it has
It's just
happened.
an interest. It hasn't happened recently. Not that I can remember anyway. So
Is it in terms of when the coach is under the pump like that, Api, how difficult it is for the playing group?
Yeah, because then you're put in a difficult position. You understand that you're not the board and they make the decisions, and if it happens, then it happens. And then I think, like Benny Hunt said, you sort of do start from the start again. Not in terms of rebuilding, but in terms of figuring out how he wants things done and how you want to play under him. It sort of sets that up for a losing season as well. Like there's not much that can move forward from that point until the next year. So it's a pretty difficult spot to be in.
All right, look,
Benny Hunt, Tony, must be in a stage of his career where he's looking for success, right? He hasn't won a comp, has he?
No, he was
Has he
very
won a
close,
premiership?
but somebody dropped the
Yeah.
ball off the kickoff.
So, I mean, that's another, I guess what a statement like the one that he's made does, it just opens the door a little bit, it gives him probably a little bit of power to the point where
Yeah, but he signed a
he
contract,
might be looking
right?
to
He
go
signed a
somewhere now in the
contract.
next couple of years where he feels like he can win a comp, because the Dragons probably not in a window at the moment, are they? And if they're going to get a new coach or they're going to keep this coach, they're still at least a couple of years away from these young guys coming through and probably putting them in top four.
He's on pretty significant money, though. I'm not sure many clubs that are in contention to win a comp next year will be able to afford Ben Hunt on his current contract.
No, I think you're
So
right.
he's a bit snookered in that respect.
Yes, thank you so much to our good friends at King G Workwear, and thank you so much to our good friend Api Koroisau, who now has to leave us. Thank you for your efforts today. What will you do? Obviously, there's no game for you today. Will you hit the golf course? What will happen?
Yeah, I think probably my daughter's got a little birthday party, so not hers, but another kid's.
I was going to say, you prioritise this show over your daughter's birthday, and that's a really nice thing.
So I think I'll go and say hello and join them and have a little family day.
Oh, that's very good.
nice,
What is it, a 4th or 5th or something?
It is a 6th birthday, I think. So yeah, I'll go and say hello and spend some time with the family. And
Well,
enjoy
thank you
the
so
rest.
much for spending some time with us. It's been great, and we're sure we'll do that again very soon.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, guys.
Api Koroisau Wade Graham joins us in the next hour. Wade Graham joins us right here on G'day, Wado.
Tony, how you going?
Very well, thanks. Have you pulled up after getting back on the footy field?
Yeah, I'm good. Obviously, it always helps getting the result go your way.
Yep.
It makes the bumps and bruises a little less sore. But yeah, it was great to be back out there. It's been 5 weeks since round one, since I had an opportunity to play last. So I was sick of training, to be honest, without a game at the end of the week. So it was good to prepare and play a game.
It was good to see you. Had some kids running around, I saw at the back end of the game.
Yeah, my young blokes, they were actually probably more excited that I was playing than I was. It's hard to explain. I got a turning 3 and a turning 5-year-old. So trying to explain why you're not playing with suspension. So I had to say I was in the naughty corner. But when they're in the naughty corner, it only lasts a couple of minutes, right? Then they're out of the naughty corner.
5 weeks.
I was week after week after week. No, I'm still in the naughty corner this week. And
How
then
naughty were you, Daddy?
they had a good memory, but because we told them, the Easter Bunny will come, and then after the Easter Bunny comes, I'm allowed to play again. I'm out of the naughty corner, and straight away my young bloke, the Easter Bunny come, you're playing next week. So they were onto it.
They must love that way, though, when they get the opportunity to come down and be on the field at the end of the game and just experience that with their dad.
Yeah, it's to be honest, I probably enjoy it more than they do. Like, it's just so much fun. They're running around, kick the footy. They've always got a footy in their hand. Obviously, the apple hasn't fallen too far from the tree. I watch pretty much every game at home. They're sitting with me watching the footy, and they just love it. So to have those moments, even mum and dad sit at home and they watch and they see their grandkids on the field with me kicking the footy around. I get a text from mum all the time saying, "Oh, it's good to see you with the boys," and they're very. They are special moments, and it's one of the bonuses about playing footy.
Felt like it was a pretty important win last night, Wade. I mean, if you've gone 2-4, you're not in the hole, but it just felt like it was an important game.
Yeah, it was, and it was the result. Not so necessarily as important. It's just the way we played. I think we needed to go out there and get a gritty win and grind and defend well. There was moments in with our attack, a couple of errors. We earned some penalties and then gave the ball back where we weren't as sharp as we have been, but we actually defended our errors this week and we dug in there and it was a ding dong. Like that second half the game was there for both teams to snatch away. So for us to, just hang in there, and then a moment from Nico to really, put Browse away to score that try. It's really like the way we got the result is very important and something we can grow on for sure.
He has all the talk has been about Nico in terms of getting that job done of getting you home.
Yeah, well, that's why he's so special, right? Like, and us as a team, and Nico's obviously our focal point, but as a team, we need to hang in there in those moments when the game's in that, in the balance, and both teams are throwing down, and you just don't know which way it's going to go. You need your big players to stand up, and for us, there's none bigger than Nico. And at different times, we will have different players that need to stand up. Matty Moylan was great last night. Will Kennedy has been great for us to start the season, and Blake Bradley probably had his best game. Probably toughest game for such a long time, and he really got that. It was almost a match winner, that try that he did score. And throughout different times in the year, we need those big time players to stand up. That's ultimately the difference when you get to the end of the year.
Wado, what really impressed me about Nico's second half last night, and when the game was on the line, a lot of players with that sort of skill set or that mindset wait for the attacking opportunity to come. Like they sit back and they just wait and they wait. He was actually getting his hands on the football in your half, and the amount of yards he made out of yardage, and he ended up setting up the try that got you guys into the lead and the sort of the main part of that victory from I think your side of halfway anyway. But his willingness to get his hands or get involved in the contest at any part of the field just shows me, and you always tell me, that what impresses you about him is the way that he goes after things. He didn't sit back and wait for that game to come to him, for him to have the moment. He went and took that moment last night.
Yeah, definitely. And we spoke about it last week when we were talking about after he re-signed. That's where he is at this stage of his career. He wants it. Like, he wants to be the playmaker. He wants to be the point of difference, and he wants to be the one, to take the games on and to really stand up and get the results go our way. And he certainly, it's been amazing, like really how his rise, how fast it has been since he's really locked down that halfback spot. But he's out and out, at that elite level playmaker in the NRL right now. There's probably no one, or only a couple that sit with him with that ability going after the game. He pops up on both sides of the field.
Whether it was Munster-like last night.
Yeah, that's it. That's the sort of calibre, sort of type of rugby league he's playing now. It doesn't matter whether it's a short side on the left-hand side of the field, a short side on the right-hand side of the field, if it's a long shift. He wants the ball and he wants to make it happen, and we're very fortunate to have him in our side.
It's funny because it's been a fast ride, but it's been a long time coming, right? I mean, what's Nico, 26, 27?
Yeah.
But suddenly in the last 2 years, 18 months, he has just exploded. It's the talent's obviously always been there, but I don't know. Maybe you know better than me. Why suddenly it's because he's been given the opportunity to be that man, or is he just matured?
It's hard to it's hard to put your finger on it really, because a lot of it is opportunity. You always, when you're a young guy coming up, you're always coming up, but there's established players that are in front of you, and you don't always get an opportunity where a coach backs you and go, here you go, you got 12 months to do your work and to learn some lessons and to see what you can become, because you're either filling in for someone or you don't get the job to get done in your first try, like 5 or 6 weeks, so then they change the team again. So, and Nico, again, he bounced around. He bounced from Manly in the under-20s, and then I know he went up to the Q Cup for a while. He bounced up there, and then he came down and found himself in the Melbourne system. And I do think that the longer road to the top, now that he's actually having success and playing the way he is, certain things in his character that he earned along the way that's going to hold him in good stead moving forward. Like he's genuine to start with. He's a genuine person. There's no ego about him. When he talks, you can see he really means what he's saying. There's a sense of humility about him as well. I think that's why he's got such a fanfare over him, and so many people appreciate what he does because you can just tell he's being himself, he's having a crack, and he's just delivering at the highest level. So, like I said, we're certainly lucky to have him at the Sharks and have him wrapped up for a long time now.
Yeah. All right. You probably didn't get a chance to watch the full game, the Manly Storm game, but did you see the shot on Justin Olam?
I did see that shot.
What did you
Everyone laughs when they get asked about it,
I
don't they?
did. Well, just like a couple of things. Like Juzzy, he's probably owed a couple because he's handed a few
just a
out this
couple.
time.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
like, speaking from every other player in the NRL that's not Justin Olam, like, good job, boys. You got one back in. Like, we're still in the red, all right? We're still in the red.
Believe it or not, I throw a statement at you. You tell me whether you believe it or not and why. All right, let's begin with, we spoke a little bit before about Nicho Hynes and how well he's travelling. Believe it or not, Nicho Hynes should already be a lock for, not playing in the number 13 jersey, a lock as in must be in the New South Wales Origin side for that number 6 jumper. Wade Graham, where are you going?
Well, it's easy for me. He's my teammate, so
Yep.
for sure, I think. I definitely believe it. I think he'll be great outside Nathan. Nathan steering the ship around and Nicho being able to pop up either side and attack where he thinks he needs to attack. And I think he'll form a great combination with Tedesco too. So, and he wants it. He wants it. You can see, we were just talking about it before. He wants to be at that level and not just be at that level. He wants to perform at that level against the best. So, I believe it.
I'm a Queenslander, Tone, so I hope he doesn't get picked. Would help our cause. I don't know. I think Jerome Luai's. Well, I suppose they lost last year, didn't they? No, I'm going to go with it. I think he should be. Stick him in there. He's the best 5'8" at the moment in New South Wales. So
You believe it?
I believe it. Yeah.
Do it. Okay.
A bit harsh on Jerome Luai, but I believe it. Yeah.
Well,
I believe it, Tone. I'm going to lock him in. It just needed to see. It was always on the radar, I think, with his development over the last couple of seasons, and just needed to see a couple of performances this year. Obviously, he's been restricted with injury, so we haven't seen a lot of him. But just that performance last night, and then I think what's going to come over the next couple of weeks. I don't think there's going to be any issues there, and I think he'll be number 6 for the Blues.
And that loyalty thing is always fraud, isn't it? Because we've had Api Koroisau in here for the past 2 hours. What's going to happen?
Just
Damien
doesn't
Cook.
exist.
Well, they did
Cook has been
lose.
playing
Queensland won the series, so I think loyalty only exists when you win, doesn't it?
Yeah, this isn't a believe it or not now, but do you think Damien Cook will get the 9 over Api? What are your thoughts?
I'm with Gerds. I think they should both be in the 17.
Yeah, I think they'll both. I think
But
you
just-
need 2 number 9s.
Yeah.
I really do. Everyone says Harry Grant's the best hooker in Australia yet, and he, but Ben Hunt's going to probably start for Queensland. Just shows you how important that second dummy half is coming off the bench, and it gives them, and especially if Jack, pulls the pin on representative football, it just makes it all a little bit clearer, doesn't it? And allows, because he's a guy that sometimes you just kind of need to find a hole for. You need to find a place for Jack White in your footy side, but if he takes himself out of that equation, I think it just becomes a lot clearer then that Api goes on in that number 14 jersey.
Yep. All right, believe it or not, and this is quite harsh, I would have thought. Believe it or not, the Cowboys must win today or it's season over.
Oh, I don't believe that. No way. I think that at some point they're going to.
We spent all night coming up
I
with
like
this
the question.
Yeah.
It's
You can't just dismiss it out of hand.
I like it. It's controversial. It's controversial. Could stir up some debate.
Yeah.
So I like it,
Yeah.
but I just think it's insane.
That's your best work ever.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wow, it's a low bar, Tone.
Wado, believe
I'm the same as Reedy. I don't believe it. I think there's no doubt they're not playing the football they certainly want to be playing, and they're not sitting in the position that they would have thought they would be at the start of the season. But they're a talented team. We saw what they did last year, and at some stage they're going to find their mojo and give it a shot. The only thing is that they'll be keeping an eye on is the top 4.
Yeah.
You can't give the top 4 too much of a head start because, come the end of the season, it's hard to claw back.
You made me laugh so much, really. I moved my headphones. Now I'm bleeding into them, but, with my bad ear. But I don't know who has to wear them next, but still.
Get the camera off him.
MG.
Get MG.
Yeah.
That's right.
He likes the smell of blood.
Of course he does. Believe it or not, Gerds.
Yeah, look, it's a little bit outrageous. I will say this though, like having a look at the draw that they've had so far, the Dolphins, the Bulldogs, the Titans, the Warriors, it probably, they are at some point going to come up against stiffer opposition. Mm-hmm. And I think their confidence does seem to be fading a little bit. They're certainly not going in the direction they would like, given their performance last week against the Dolphins. So I think it's a crucial game for them, but I'm not willing to say that it's season ending.
Okay. All right, we spoke a little bit before about the Dragons and the coaching situation, and Ben Hunt obviously supporting the coach and talking about not wanting to start again with the new coach. But they're one of those clubs, aren't they, where a lot of people like it to be somebody from within, somebody who's been there, has been part of the fabric of that, the big red V, to be involved. So believe it or not, a Dragons identity must be part of the new coaching setup. Ryan Girdler? We know that Nathan Brown, I don't know if he's been approached, but there's been talk of him as being in the structure.
I think it's romantic, Tone.
Yeah.
But there's the right person out there. And look, does that include Shane Flanagan? Because he's been part of their organisation before. And I'm not sure why I think he is in calculations. But no, I think it's the right person they're after, not necessarily the right ex-Dragon.
Yeah, that seems so sensible to me.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think, the last time they had success was under Wayne Bennett. He's not a Dragon, so I think they have evidence of someone outside of the Dragons club bringing success to the club, and Dragons identity. I think they only, like Gerd said, the right person's out there. The person they need in needs to know his own identity, and needs to know what he wants out of his football team and what he believes he can create and what drives him to have success. So they need a coach in there who knows what he's about, who's going to go in there and put the right changes and back himself and have belief in his own systems and instill that in his players.
That's absolutely right. In terms that the board needs to know what its identity is.
That's
given
what I was going to say, Tone.
Yeah.
I would ask, do they know what they're actually after?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the most important thing.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm with the guys. Yeah, I just think the right person. They need the right person rather than the right.
You're sitting back resting on your laurels with the whole insane thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
And finally, believe it or not, Penrith should prioritise Dylan Edwards over Jerome Luai. This is, of course, if through salary cap pressure they need to lose one of these players. Has Dylan Edwards jumped over the top in terms of the pecking order? Wado?
Well, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think
that's why it's such a compelling segment.
I would probably lean towards believe it. I think over the last, we talk about Nico Hines' rise to like that elite status level. Dylan Edwards has almost matched him. He was a good player in a great team, and now he's just turned into a great player that sort of leads that great team in moments. So there's no doubt that he is probably, the way he performs week in and week out, he's probably not paid the same as other elite fullbacks across the competition. So it's something that he'll look at in the future. The only wrinkle is that Penrith production line, all those juniors coming through, there might be, a young
7 or 8 more of them.
There might be a young fullback in there, or there might be a young 5'8".
Well, they've got Taruva, the Fijian bloke on the wing, isn't he? He's a fullback, I think.
Yeah. So, I grew up out, in that junior system, and you just know there's always young kids hungry, ready to go, and that's probably the decision the club's going to have to think long and hard on. But it is a decision how they're going to manage that, really.
Yep. I think they'll keep them both in the end, but I would say because they've got that Taruva who can play fullback, then I think Luai should be the priority. Okay. Just because I think, I don't know, I think it feels like to me he's more of a face of the club than Dylan as well. I think that's important as well, maybe from a marketing or corporate perspective, but I think they'll keep them both. They can't keep losing guys. At some point, they've lost so many players. Like at some point, their cap must be free enough that they can start keeping some. Surely.
Yeah. Ryan Girdler?
I would say I would believe it, Tone. I think Dylan actually gives Penrith the balance. I think because they've got so many players with so much ability. I think his sort of rigidness and the way his consistency gives them the balance that they rely on time and time again. And the way he goes about his business. I think that he's a really important cog in that Penrith wheel. Because, you need someone that... And Jerome's had a really good season, given the fact that, he lost his kick-out and it was always going to be a challenge for him. But I think Dylan's gone to another level and I think he should be their investment.